Daf is dedicated for Shmira for the Chayalim, Matzah for the Shvuyim, and Yeshua for Am Yisrael in this eighth Tzara. So we're going to start on Sadi Ches, Amud Aleph, basically around, let's see how many lines at the top. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 lines from the top. And we're going to continue with the words, Amar Rabbi Abba, Eilcha Kates Megula, meaning to say the Gemara is going to bring, talking about if we know the time of the time of the redemption. So Rabbi Abba says there, Eilcha Kates Megula, there's no clearer prediction of when the redemption will come, clearer than this, when it says in Ezekiel, Tem Harei Yisrael Anfachem, Titenu Periachem Tisu Amei Yisrael, that the mountains of Israel are your branches that will give forth its fruit for my nation of Israel. Meaning to say, when Israel gives off its fruit with a good eye, that's a sign that the redemption will come and coming of the Mashiach. Rabbi Lazar Omer, Af means that there's another verse, as it says, Kilif Nea Yamimahim, Sachar Adam Woniyel, Schar Behima, Einano, Yotzev Lavo, Ein Shalom Menatzar. Meaning to say, during this time, from Zachar, during the time before the redemption, there will be nobody who will be making nobody will be making any money. So Rav says even Torah scholars about whom it says peace, Ain Shalom. The Torah scholars will not even have peace on account of the just tremendous distress. Shmuel says that it will not be until all of the prices are exactly the same. Amar b'chanina ein ben David when will the son of David, when will the Mashiach come? Only when they request fish for a sick person, and it's not found. As it states, we may have in our samka shemen olich. And Ksiv, it says after Bayoma hu atzmiach kerem beit Yisrael. Amar b'chanan bar Chanina ein beit David ba'at shetechot malchus hazol Yisrael. That the Mashiach will come when basically there will be no rain whatsoever over Israel. It states v'karas hazal zalim b'mizmaros. And it says afterwards, Ksiv basrei ba'esahi, at that time, Yovel Shaila Hashem Tzvakos Inu Meshachim Marad Amar Ziri Amar B'Chanina Ein Ben David Ba'at Sheichu Gasi Ariel. The only time the Mashiach will come is when the haughty people disappear from Israel, as it states Ki Az Atir Mikirbech Alidei Gavasech, and it states afterwards Visharti Bekirbech Am Ani Vidal V'Chasu B'Shem Hashem. Amar Rabbi Silai Mishum Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon Ein Ben Dav Ba'at Sheichu Kol Hashoftim V'Hashotrim Yisrael. Mashiach will only come when there ceases to be any judges in Israel. It states V'Shiva Yadei Alech V'Atzrov Kavor Sigayach, and then it says V'Shiva Shoftach Kavarishona. Amar Ula and Yerushalayim Nifteis El B'Tzedakah. Jerusalem will only be redeemed through charity, as it says Tzion B'Mishpot Tipadeh V'Shavel B'Tzedakah. Amar Papa Yibatli Yirai. If the arrogant people will cease amongst the Jewish people, then Batlu Am Gushay. Then the magicians, the sorcerer will cease. And Ibatli Dayane, if the judges will cease, the wicked judges, then Batli Gezir Pati. Then the officers of the nations who strike the Jewish people will also cease. Ibati Yirai Batli Am Gushay. If the arrogant people of Israel disappear, then we'll get rid of the Gushi, because it says Vetrov Kabor Stigayach Vasira Kol B'Dilayach. The Batli Dayane, and if you get rid of the judges, Batli Gezir Tapi, because it says Hithir Hashem Mishpatach Pina Ovayach. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Marisa Dor Shemismai Vahoich. If you see a generation that's diminishing and getting poorer and poorer, Chakelo, wait for the Mashiach. It says Ves Amani Toshia. You'll be the poor people you shall save. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Marisa Dor Shetzaros Rabos Bosalav. Rabbi Yochanan says if you see a generation with a lot of distress coming upon it, like a canal, like a river, then Chakela, wait for it. As it states, Kiavo Kanar Tzar Veruach Hashem Nos Stabo. With Samachain, it says next to Volotzion Goel. Rabbi Yochanan Ein Ben David Ba Ela Bedor Shakul Zakai. okul chayiv. Generation of Mashiach, the Mashiach will only come if there's a generation where it is entirely righteous or entirely guilty. B'dor shekul zakai, if it's a generation of entirely righteous, because it says v'amech kulam tzadikim v'olam yirshu aretz. And if it's a generation where they're entirely guilty, b'dor shekul chayev, it says vayar ki ein ish vayishtomem ki ein mafkia. And it says afterwards l'mani eseh. Amar Rabbi Alexander, Rabbi Shimon Levi, Rami, Rabbi Shimon Levi threw two verses against each other. One verse says ksiv biata. It says in one verse that the redemption will come at a specific time. Biata ksiv achishena, meaning to say that Hashem will hasten the redemption. So zachu achishena, if they merit, I'll hasten it. Lo zachu, if they don't merit, biata, it'll come in its time. Amar Rabbi Alexander, Rabbi Shimon Levi, Rami, Rabbi Shimon Levi threw two verses. One verse says with respect to the coming of the Mashiach that Daniel saw in his vision, meaning to say the Mashiach will come quickly, like the clouds of the sky. And another verse says, meaning to say the Mashiach will come very slowly, like a poor man riding on a donkey. So what does that mean? Zachu imananei shemaya, lo zachu ani. If they're married, it'll come like the clouds of the sky. If they don't marry, it'll come like a poor man riding on a donkey. Amalei. So then it also says Shavor Malko. So Shavor Malko, who was the king of Persia, said to Shmuel, he said in a mocking manner, Mashiach HaChamaraya is your Messiah going to come on a donkey? So that's not responsible. Ishtar is Susia Baraka Disley. I'll send him my best horse. So Shmuel responds, Amalei Mislach Bar Chavar Gavani. You have a horse that is filled with 100 different colors, like the donkey and the Mashiach. There's 100 different colors. Gemara brings an incident that relates to the coming of the Mashiach, one of the most powerful incidents in the whole Talmud. Rabbi Shimon Levi found he was standing on the entrance to a cave. The Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He says, am I going to come into the next world? Meaning to say, if God wants, you'll get there. So Amar Rabbi Shimon Levi, Shnayim Ra'isi, V'kol Shlosha Shamati. So Rabbi Shimon Levi said at that time, I saw two, meaning to say I saw Eliyahu Hanavi and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, V'kol Shlosha Shamati, but I heard the sound of three. Amarle, Amos Asi Mashiach. So Rabbi Shimon Levi said to Eliyahu Hanavi, when will the Mashiach come? Amarle Zil Shiloh Didei. Go and ask him. So Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Echa Yosef, where will I find him? He said, Apischa to Rome. You'll find him at the entrance to Rome. Umay Simone. And he says, what will be his sign? That'll be him. Yosef Bene Aniyeh Sovei Chalayim. He said, he'll be sitting amongst the poorest people who have afflictions. Vikulan, and all these people who are sick, and he'll be sitting amongst them. Sharov Asiri B'chad Zimna, and all the other sick ones will be removing their bandages at once and cleaning them, and then they'll go retie them. Whereas Iu Shari Chad V'Asir Chad. Whereas the Messiah will be removing them one at a time, because he says, maybe it'll become my time to do the redemption, and I don't want to be delayed. So the Mashiach is sitting amongst the poorest people, amongst the lepers, undoing his bandages one at a time. Azal Agabe, so Rabbi Shimon Levi went to the Mashiach. Amalei Shalom Alecha Rabbi Umori, peace upon you, my Rebbe, my teacher. Amalei Shalom Alecha Bar Levi, he says, peace upon you, Bar Levi. Amalei Le'emat Salsimar, when are you going to come? He says, Amalei Ayom. So Mashiach says, I'll come today. He went to Elijah. He said, what did he say? So he said to me, peace upon you, Bar Levi. And by this he promised you that you and your father are for sure having a share in the world to come. But he lied to me. He said, I'm going to come today. But he didn't come. This is what he said to you. He said, Ayom in the Kolot Tishma. Ooh, the Mashiach could come today if you listen to his voice. So it's such a beautiful story. The Mashiach is the person who we we ignore, we think the littlest of. We laugh at him, but he's the one sitting amongst the lepers, sitting amongst the people who are scorned by society. Shaul, tell me that's Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma. Amasai ben David ba. They asked Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, when is Mashiach coming? Amar Misyarayani. I'm afraid to tell you, because maybe you're going to ask for a sign. We're not going to ask for a sign. They must speak of no Salach ben David. He says, when the walls of this gate of Rome fall down and they'll rebuild it, they'll fall down, they'll rebuild it, fall down again, and they won't be able to rebuild it before the Mashiach. He said, give us a sign. Then you say to me, you're not asking for a sign. They said, nevertheless, we want a sign. So he said, so he says, if that'll be the case, that I'm correct, let the waters of Maras Pamayas turn into blood, and that's what happened. It turned into blood. B'shas P'tira. So when Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma died, he said to them, "Amukuli." He said, "Hamikuli Aroni, bury my coffin with my body in the depths of the ground." Shein kol on top of 98 beach. Shein kol dekel of a dekel. Shabavel shein sus shall parsiam nikshaba. Because there's no palm tree that in the future that the Persians will not be their horses won't be tied to, and they're going to conquer the whole land, and then they're going to go on to the land of Israel. And all the horses are going to eat our coffins. So bury me deep in the ground so the horses don't eat me. Amarav ein ben David ba. Mashiach is not going to come. So the wicked kingdom goes over Israel for 9 months. As it says, the Yeser Achiv Yeshuvah al Bnei Israel. Amar Ula Yesiv Loach Mine. Mashiach will come, but I don't want to see him. Meaning to say, because it's going to come through a lot of difficulty. V'chein Amar Rabba Yesiv Loach Mine. Want to come, but I don't want to see him. Rav Yosef Amar Yesiv Aske the As the Esev Betua the Kusifata the Chamrei. He says, let the Mashiach come, and I'll merit that I will sit in the shade of the feces of his donkeys, because that's how much I desire to see him. I'm like, my time, what's the reason that you don't want to be in time of the Mashiach? Because of the troubles associated with the Mashiach. But didn't we learn in the Brisa? What can a person do to be saved from the struggles of Mashiach? Study Torah and acts of kindness. If that's the case, and you don't have to worry about him coming. Mar ha Torah v'gmilas chasadim, but you have Torah and gmilas chasadim. You have Torah and kindness. Amarlei shema yigrom chayt. Now I'm worried that maybe I won't, because maybe the sin will cause us to not be worthy. Kid the Rabbi Yaakov Aridi, the Rabbi Yaakov Aridi Rami Ksivi through 2 verses. Ine anochi imach. Behold, I'll be with you and I'll watch you wherever you go. Ksiv vayirei Yaakov mod vayetzer lo. Why was Jacob afraid? He was worried that maybe he sinned too much. It says in the Song of the Sea, in Oz Yashir, it says, this refers to the first time the Jewish people entered the land of Israel. This refers to the second time of Ezra. They really were worthy to have, they were supposed to have a miracle that they enter like the time of Ezra, like they did with Joshua. But they had a sin. The sin caused them not to have a miracle. I don't want to see the time of the Mashiach. I'm already chokish my timer. If you want to say, meaning to say you're going to be bit by a snake. When a person goes out into the field, and the person who's in charge of, let's say, the borders encounters him, it looks like somebody who meets a lion And Nichnas here, Pagabagaba comes into the city, he meets the tax collector. Doma Kapin Shapagabadova looks like he met a bear. Nichnas Labesu Matzah Banav Benosam Natom Barav. When he comes home, he sees everybody hungry. Doma Kamishin Ashkonacha, she's like a snake. So why are you concerned more about the time of the Mashiach? Right now we have trouble too. It must be because it's written, Shona Ru'um Yeled Zachar. It says in Jeremiah, look, ask and see if you'll give birth to see if a male will give birth. What is the meaning of this strange verse that you say, why have I seen every man he's about to give birth and he looks pale? What does it mean? Ra'isi kol gever, amarav bar Yitzchak, amarav misha kol gvura shelo. Someone who has all strength, God, i.e. God, and he has birth pains because the time of the Mashiach. That this refers to the heavenly court, in the lower court. When God said, "These are my handiwork," and these are my handiwork. How will I destroy these instead of these? I won't be able to destroy them. I love them all. This is why people say, right? When the ox runs away and falls and it can't plow the field, and its owner comes and lifts up the horse, and still, nevertheless, when the ox gets better, even though they didn't want it at the beginning, now they can't get rid of it. In the future, all the food that they'll eat in the time of the Mashiach will belong to the Jewish people. Isn't that obvious? So who else will be benefiting from Mashiach? Do you think these demons will be benefiting? No. No, it's to counteract the position of Rabbi Hillel, who said that the Mashiach will never come again because it already came in the time of Chizkiah. Amarav, what we bury Alma Ola David said the world was only created because of the merit of David. Shmuel Amar Moshe. Shmuel says the merit of Moses. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mashiach. No, only for the Mashiach. Ma Shmuel, what's the name of the Mashiach? To me, Rabbi Shiloh Amri Shiloh Shmuel. His name is Shiloh, as it states Ad Kiavo Shiloh. The Bay Rabbi Yani Amar Yinon Shmuel. His name is Yinon. Shenema Yishmo Olam Afnei Shemesh Yinon Shmuel. Bay Rabbi Chanina Amar Chanina Shmuel. His name is Chanina. Asher Lo Aten Lachem Chanina. V'yesh Omrim. Some say Menachem ben Chizkiah Shmuel. Some say his name is Menachem ben Chizkiah. Ki Rachak Mimeni Menachem Meshiv Nashiv. Rabbanan Amri Chivara de Rabbi Shmuel. His name is Chivara. Shenemar Achein Chalayenu Hu Nasel Machavenu Sevalam Anachnu Chashavnu Nagua Mukel Emunah. Amar Nachman Im Ben Chayehu. If the Mashiach is from those people who live now, could go on Anna. It'll be somebody like me, as it states Vayadi Romi Menu Bashlomi Kibo Yitzay. Amar Ain. If it's somebody who's alive now, could go on Rabbeinu like Rabbeinu Yehuda Nasi. If it'll be someone who's dead, could go on Daniel Eshchamus, like Daniel. Amrav Yehuda Marav Asa the Kadosh Baruch Hu Amelohem David Acher. In the future, God will appoint for the Jewish people another king named David, as it states Vavduat Hashem Okahem David Malkam Asher Hakim Lahem. And Lo Nemar, it doesn't say Hakim, Lo Nemar Ela Akim. So maybe David Ben Gurion was also named David. So he says he'll be the prince forever. It means say the one who was already my servant, he will reign forever. So the Gemara says David Amelch, and then there'll be a new generation go Kaiser or Paul Kaiser, like Caesar and those who are the attendants to the king. Meaning to say that the new David will be king, and the King David, the original King David, will be his assistant. Says the Gemara. Or Mashal, so it says in Amos, woe to those who are desiring the day of God. Why are you this day of God is a day of darkness and not light. It's a parable to like a rooster and a bat. Shayim mitzapin, or they're both waiting for the light. I'm really trying to go out, like the rooster says to the bat, Ani mitzapeh orash or shalihi. I am waiting for light because it's my light. Why do you want light? So the bat responds, this is why a specific heretic said to Rabbi Avo, when the Mashiach came, when the darkness will cover up those men, meaning to say the goyim. Amalei mileit kalaituli, are you cursing me? Amalei karaksiv, it's a verse. Here's this beautiful daf, so many different beautiful teachings. So you have to go slowly and go over it slowly, but it's such a special daf. A big shkoyach to everyone.
Thank you.